You said
repentance.
Repentance.
Well, the second one is faith. I ought to genuinely believe with my heart that Jesus died for my sins, that He paid the penalty, and that I receive it for me. He paid the price, and I say, okay, I accept what Jesus did for me, because I can't pay that ticket. I can't pay that fine. Because I can't pay for my sin. It's just not possible. It's just not possible. So those are the two conditions.
That's good. I think this one right here kind of ties in right in with that. Yes.
My question is, I have a friend that asks him to come to church all the time. He says he never wants to go because he complains that he doesn't want to be faith. Because he goes to church with his aunt every once in a great while, but then he goes outside of church, he feels like he's being two-faced. And I get he doesn't want to go because that's how he feels, and he's been through some of the things that I've been through, and that's why we have in common. But what I don't understand is how do you feel faithful if you just want to listen, at least giving it a chance.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes along with this next question too. It's like the question is, what if we die and we were wrong? There's no heaven. And that comes to your question too, is because first of all, I know there's heaven because I've experienced God. Like I've experienced the presence of God. I've felt the presence of God. I've seen what God has done, and I believe, and I, like you were talking, it's that faith. That faith is the word. Like when people struggle with, well, I don't want to be faith, it's because they don't have enough faith. That they're doubting who they are. They're doubting what God's able to do. And what it is like what saved me was the transformation I experienced from God. Like it wasn't just like I said a prayer and I guess now I need to just be a better person. No, but there was something that happened. There was an experience that I had when I said that prayer and I really asked Jesus in my heart. My life was changed. I didn't want to do those things. I didn't want to go back into that life. I didn't want to go run with the idiots and act a fool and get in fights and do all this stupid stuff anymore because I was like, man, there's something that has changed inside of me. I went from hating people and not wanting to be around people because people were fake. That was my biggest problem. I was like, they're fake, I'm fake, everybody's fake. I don't want to be fake. And so I hated being around people. I hated to be in those moments with just people that, well, I'm Christian, and it's like, okay, whatever. But then it's like when I sat there and I got my time with God, and I said, Lord, I need you to save me. I need you to transform me. I need you to really save me. I don't want to do this. When I was 7 years old, I prayed a prayer. I said, Lord, I need to experience you right now. I need to see you. I need to feel you. I need your presence. And when that happened, my life was changed. It went from being to where I didn't like people to, man, my faith was changed because I experienced God. And I found compassion and love for people. And then that's when I knew that I experienced Christ.
I want to ask you to do something that sounds very, very radical. I want you to stop talking about having been saved as if it was a past experience and simply talk about walking with God today as a daily experience. There's a huge difference. Because having been saved is an act of the past. Yeah, and that's got to happen. But if all you can talk about and point to is what happened back then there's something wrong with what's going on today. Because a relationship with God that's going to get you into heaven is fundamentally an ongoing, continuous relationship of walking with God day by day. It means obedience. That means regular repentance for things I do wrong, and a continual growth process that we're experiencing in our lives. So I'll talk about walking with God and obeying God and cultivating that relationship with God.
That's good. Do we have a question back there? Brian?
All right. So when we die and go to heaven, like, will we be like in like a perfect form? You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll be like.
You will be like I am right now.
Let's say we die when we're 80. Will we go back to the time where like we were perfect, like 21 years old or something? Like, will we see our grandma who's like 28 now or something? You know what I'm saying? Like.
You want to talk on that? Like, I mean, it says that we will be made whole. It didn't really say like there's a certain age. Like if I look back, I want to be back when I was 18, and I was in shape, you know, whatever. But it just says that we will be made whole, and so like I don't think it says that you're returned to a certain age or something, you know. I believe that it'll be a little bit different than what we're expecting. We're still looking at, we will take our good flesh, or when we were in our prime, and say, this is our moment that we will be in heaven, is with the best shape that our body was in, or whatever. I think it'll be a little bit different when we're there, because I don't think our flesh, or our physical body that we're in right now, could handle the presence of God. I don't think it could withstand the amount of worship and power that we're going to stand in front of. So I think it would just melt off. I like to see it melt. Yeah.
Will we still have our senses?
Probably. I hope so, because if there's all that food, I want to taste it, I want to smell it, but it does talk about that. You notice things that there are people when you hear some of the things in the Bible, it describes things to detail. I've heard stories about people that when you walk in, Jesus is very keen on the scent, man. In the Bible, it talks about when you smell different things. It talks about fragrances. It talks about the aroma, the rose and Sharon, and all this stuff. It talks about seeing the unbelievable things happen around you, and so I believe that your senses will be even sharper. I believe that you will be aware of so many more things around you.
The scriptures also tell us that when we, at rapture, when Jesus comes back and takes us back to be with Him, or when we die as well, but we are given a heavenly body. We're given a body that can only exist in heaven. And what that is, I really don't have the foggiest idea. But here's one of the ways I think about heaven. Think about a mother who is pregnant with twins. All right? They're in utero. And it's 39 weeks coming up on 40 weeks, and they're about ready to be popped out. And they're talking to each other. One says to the other and says, holy cow, guess what? We're leaving this place in a couple of days. What's it going to be like out there? The other one says, I don't have the foggiest idea. I don't want to go. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here where it's warm, where I get fed 24/7, where I don't have to do anything. And the other one says, yeah, but you don't have a choice, because man, they're going to start this roof on our heads going to start caving in on us, and it's going to push us out. And we ain't going to stop until we're out there. And you can't stop it. And that's kind of like death. Death is going to come. It's going to take us. It's going to push us. The roof's going to cave in. It's going to push us out, and we're going to end up in a place called eternal life, heaven. Now, one of those kids says to the other kids, I don't know what it's like out there, but I heard Mom talking about these things out there. They've got 4 legs and they're called dogs. I have no idea. What's a dog? The other one says, well, there's trees out there. They got leaves. And what's a leaf? I never heard of a leaf before. I don't know. What's a leaf? What's it feel like? And there's snow. And all of these things out there about, this thing that we consider very normal things of life. But those 2 little kids have never been there. They've never experienced it. They do not understand. How can we breathe? Breathe? What's that? Don't we just suck water all the time? Well, guess what heaven's going to be like? Heaven is going to be something that we cannot understand because we don't have the words to describe it. But it's going to be something that's far better than what we experience here in this world.
You got a question back there?
In heaven, would there be sin? Is it possible to sin?
No sin. It said, because sin cannot enter heaven. And so I think that's why, a lot of teachings believe that when Jesus died on the cross for us, He took on our sin, and it talks about in the Bible that God had to turn His back on Jesus in that moment because of the sin. So sin cannot be present in heaven. It's washed away, it's done. So, I can punch Pastor Bob in the arm in heaven, but it's not a sin. So there'll be stuff. To be in heaven, you have to be absent from sin and stuff. But I believe that in that moment, when we get our heavenly body, it's total different. Yeah.
Okay, what happens? Okay, say that not everybody makes it to heaven, but you don't go to hell. What happens to those people?
It's one or the other. The Bible's real clear about that if you're not in heaven, then you're in hell. There's a lot of people that were good people and that chose not to choose Christ. So, they chose their own path and stuff and said, look, I live a good life. I'm a good person. I do good things. But I don't want nothing to do with God. And it's so clear, man, that if you don't choose Jesus Christ, and no man can come to the Father but through Jesus Christ.
Guess what God does? God doesn't send anybody to hell. People who go to hell choose to go there on their own because they don't accept Christ and the payment of penalty that He made for them. So don't ever tell anybody or think that God sends people to hell. God is a God of justice and a God of righteousness and a God of mercy. And He puts all those together and gives us the freedom to choose. So we choose where we spend eternity.
Good. Yes, ma'am.
Will you still be married to your
I like that question.
Because I know people say like till death do us part. And like
So when you're dead, I can do whatever I want.
that's what.
You understand?
No, I don't want that to happen. I'm just wondering.
I've always been taught and kind of just understood that when we get to heaven, we will know that we've been in a relationship. We know that person will understand that there was a relationship between each other, but it won't be important anymore. It's not like, oh, but we're husband and wife. We need to hang out. Like, our main focus is going to be on God. Like, I don't think that the marriage will be there. We won't look at each other and say, hey, we're married. We're still, I believe that you will know that person as, when we were on earth, that we had a relationship. We were married and stuff like that. But it's so much different because it no longer is we're doing this together. All we're going to do is go worship God. Yeah.